Persistence is quite a fascinating thing. It's related to consistency and discipline. What I'm finding is that lately it has worked out for me in the long run, in this particular case, not in a lot of other things in life, but in this particular case, the saying seems to apply: good things come to those who wait. And although it's not necessarily accurate, because it would be more like that fortune is attracted to those who are patient. I think that's the way that I'm going to reframe that. Fortune is attracted to those who are patient, but it's not just a patience in waiting. I think, because waiting to me and patience are two different things from my understanding. Because waiting is like somebody who wants opportunities in life and they just simply sit around and expect them to come to them. Whereas patience is the understanding that persisting with diligent, focused, directional work will eventually get to a destination. Meaning, in physics, for example, there's a difference between magnitude and direction, right? So magnitude is just how much power, and when you give something a vector, it gives it a direction, or velocity. So you can have a lot of magnitude, right? Like how big something is. Like, for example, 100 miles an hour in a car is somewhat fast to most people, right? But you could go 100 miles an hour around a 1 mile track, right? And you can do that in 1/100th of an hour, or you can go around it 100 times in an hour. That's a lot of magnitude. But when you get to the finish line, which is usually on some tracks the same place where the starting point is, you've ended up in the same place. So in kinematics and physics, they call this the difference between distance and displacement. So you can go a great distance, you can go that 100 miles, but you'll still end up in the same place, so you haven't been displaced. And what we're looking for when we put in work, for the most part, we want displacement. We want to go somewhere else. We want to be somewhere else. This is why this kind of thing is related to when people say, I feel like I'm doing all this work and I'm not getting anywhere, or my life is not going anywhere, right? It's an analogy. They're not necessarily traveling, although we do move about a lot. But what they're really saying is they feel like their life is not progressing when they say they feel like things aren't going anywhere. And so that is what we're applying here, and what I'm talking about, that fortune is attracted to those who are disciplined, probably even better than patient, or are consistent. But I'm sure that you understand what I'm getting at here now. And one of the interesting things that I've been focusing on and observing about my own progression is convergence. So that I have had the idea for over 20 years now that my various different interests, I would be able to package them all into one thing, because I don't want to give them up, because I live under the what some might call the delusion of the idea that you can do what you love and the money will follow. And so I've persistently done what I'm passionate about, which fall into the categories of what I call the 3 M's for me. So there's martial arts is the first M, there's music is the second M, and then metaphysics is the third M. And they're all intimately tied together, interestingly enough, all through martial arts, because the martial arts philosophy that I've adopted into mine, although I don't follow it strictly, is that of Capoeira. And Capoeira is not only a martial art, but it's a game and a dance. And of course, dance involves music, and a lot of music, and in the case of Capoeira, involves singing. So there's lyrics, there's the playing of instruments and the performing of instruments, and then there's the dance component of it. And in the dance component of it, that also, as I said, leads into the music part. But there's also, it has its own mythology, which I don't necessarily follow, but I have my own metaphysics, which covers philosophy, science, and spirituality. So those are my 3 M's: martial arts, music, and metaphysics. And those seemingly different things, are really encapsulated very well in what I understand to be the original spirit of the development of Capoeira. I have this understanding, and I'm pretty sure that it's not isolated to just me, but that a lot of Capoeira, especially contemporary Capoeira, I wrote an article years ago when I labeled Capoeira Contemporânea, which means contemporary Capoeira. As you didn't hear the cognate there, the way that it sounds the same, but I called it a badly organized circus. I wrote something like navigating combat efficiency, or extracting combat efficiency from a badly organized circus. And the point is just that it's become really colonized and co-opted, and it seems to be far away from the original art of liberation that it's intended to be. But it encapsulates so many different aspects in it, and that's why I have mutated my own version of Capoeira, which I call KappaGuerra, which is spelled KappaGuerra. And yes, it sounds similar intentionally, and it's made of 2 words: kappa from the Greek, which is the 10th letter of the Greek alphabet, and it can also mean head, right, the top. But it also, in this divination system called numerology, 10 is really a 1 because 1 and 0, using the commutative law of addition, which is used in numerology, 1 and 0 equals 1. And then guerra, in many languages that come from the Latin, means war. And to me, KappaGuerra means one war, or the only war to wage is within. And this is across the various different things that I practice, which are part of my system, which is dream action yoga, exposing the conditioned personality, and hypno-athletics, exercising your mind. And these all really focus on what people call the mind-body connection, or the mind-body-spirit trilogy. And so, but my point is that I've been able to find congruence, and where all of these things really actually are one for me. And because all of the other pieces of information and knowledge base that I've gained, that I've learned, that I've earned over the years, can now be channeled through this one approach of healthy living and self-defense. And so that here in Virginia Beach, for example, I am training with various different people, and the Capoeira movements are one way to work with people one-on-one and in groups, but also it's a very seamless way to be able to share other parts of the philosophy about things like nutrition and meditation and various different aspects of spirituality, even though I do have a very radical type of spirituality to a lot of people, especially in a place where there are a lot of religious people, specifically Christians, who will not agree with what my viewpoint is and my understanding, which is based in science, but then crosses over into metaphysics, but a more general, universal type of metaphysics, rather than a metaphysics that's focused on any particular religion or dogma. But what fascinates me is, now that I am an ordained minister since 2020, from Wisdom of the Heart Church. Actually, was it 2022? So about 4 years now, from Wisdom of the Heart Church. And I'm a philosopher of metaphysical sciences with my PhD from the University of Metaphysical Sciences. And I'm also, from even years before that, from back in 2006, I earned my degree in clinical hypnosis from the Hypnosis Motivation Institute. And before that, at least since 1998, I've been practicing as a personal fitness trainer and a group fitness instructor, teaching various different forms of resistance training and martial arts. So I've been doing this for a long time. And what has happened is I've realized that all of these things converge, and that I'm basically like a super powered, highly advanced life coach. That's one of the best ways that I can frame it. But people would ask, I'm a healthy living and self-defense coach, or depending on what they're looking for, I can be a spiritual counselor, a spiritual minister, because I have those degrees and that ordination, as well as the degree in, clinical hypnosis and on and on. So it's fascinating. And then just the years of accumulated knowledge from being a personal fitness trainer, a group fitness instructor, and a martial arts instructor, a martial arts teacher. And so they all follow along the same lines, at least for me. But this is also part of my confirmation bias, right? Where I have found a lot of things that agree with what I already want and what I already believe. But in this case, for the benefit of people I come in contact with. And it all surrounds this understanding of what I call healthy living and self-defense. When my first website went online in 2006, so 20 years ago, in March of 2006, it's called Hypno Athletics. And my whole tagline was, Hypno Athletics is exercising your mind towards universal harmony and spiritual wisdom through healthy living and self-defense. And of course, then the second website that went online in 2007 is called exercisingyourmind.com, which the tagline is Wealth Attraction Research, Great Health is the Truest of All Wealth. So they all converge. Everything that I do converges around this direction of finding our best and most ultimate for each individual, our ultimate form of healthy living and self-defense for what works for us. And I have so many different frameworks that I operate under, like PACTS, PACTS, which stands for Personally Attuned Conversational Transformation Sessions. I already mentioned Dream Action Yoga, Exposing the Conditioned Personality, and KappaGuerra, The Only War to Wage is Within. They're all forms of what I also call physio meditation. I mean, and these are just all my brands, all my labels, but they basically converge on the one thing, which is healthy living and self-defense. There's just different entryways for different people. People might talk to me about the various different things that I study in metaphysics and, spirituality, science, and philosophy. And then we can get into these other subjects of martial arts and music if they want to learn various different parts and aspects of those that may be helpful to them. And then, of course, there's, they can enter into music. They might like the music that I'm doing and then learn about my ideas about spirituality, science, and philosophy. And the same thing with the martial arts, as I said before, that they might want to come train and learn some moves and something they might have seen looks cool, or they want to be more fit or learn to be more confident and defend themselves. And then they have the opportunity, if they want to learn about these other practices and systems that I have to offer under this entire system that I have, which I'm generally calling healthy living and self-defense. So, I love acronyms, and so I've had this thing called CHAMP, CHAP, right, which is when I would certify people, and they would be certified hypno athletics practitioners, and then a CHAMP would be me or other people who go to higher levels, which is certified hypnoathletics master practitioner. I mean, it's just fun to work with the acronyms and different things like that. And it also, they act as mnemonic devices to help people keep in mind what it is exactly that they're doing and working with. So, but the convergence is that everything that I do, even because I've started noticing the one thing that really inspired this, and I didn't even mention it at all yet, was that my LLC Uniquilibrium, which is made of the words unique and equilibrium as one, and then my other different brands, if you will, like World Reading Club, they're all the same thing. They're all converging on the same ideas. It's all about healthy living and self-defense. So I've just learned that, when you remain consistent and you have a goal and you have an understanding of how you want to operate, they really do come together, and all of your varying different interests and passions, if you stick to it, you can find a way in which they serve various purposes. So I'll end with, the idea of ikigai. So all these things that I do, they fall under this Japanese concept of ikigai, I-K-I-G-A-I, which is based on basically the idea of do what you love and the money will follow, but it says it like this, that you need to, that there's something within every person that they are passionate about and love, that they do very well, that the world needs and they can earn money from. And my healthy living and self-defense system fits that criteria very, very well. And I'm really glad that I have this offering. And so, again, in Virginia Beach, I'm here with my healthy living and self-defense system, Dream Action Yoga, KappaGuerra, Hypno Athletics, Physio Meditation, 613 Records, all this stuff, Uniquilibrium. They're really about moving forward with the idea of healthy living and self-defense. You can reach me at 757-763-9621. I am Hakeem Ali-Bocas Alexander.